Live from Victory Park, this is News 8 Midday.
The fact that the Supreme Court wasn't able to issue a decision today doesn't just set the system back even further. It takes us further from the country that we aspire to be.
President Obama reacting with disappointment to a Supreme Court decision, really blocking his immigration plan, saying the system has been broken for decades and remains so. Thank you for joining us this midday. I'm Marcus Moore. We do want to get right to the Supreme Court, where justices are deadlocked on immigration. In a 4-4 ruling, they refused to revive President Obama's stalled plan to protect millions of undocumented immigrants from deportation and allow them to work legally in the U.S. Now, this move effectively kills that plan for the duration of Obama's presidency. In another action, the Supreme Court justices upheld the University of Texas affirmative action admissions program. That process takes into account race, among other factors, in admitting freshmen and in building a diverse student body. That was upheld in a 4-3 vote. Now, joining us to talk further about this and break down these decisions is Byron Henry. He's an attorney who specializes in constitutional law. We do welcome you here. I want to start off with immigration, and in speaking particularly about illegal immigrants in this country and in the state right now. How does this ruling affect those families?
Well, unfortunately for those who are here unlawfully that President Obama was trying to aid in his executive action, this effectively keeps that program on hold, and probably for the duration, as you said, of President Obama's presidency. Now, there are other things the executive can do with respect to immigration, such as prioritizing deportations and trying to keep families intact. But as far as allowing these individuals to get some sort of lawful status so that they can get driver's licenses and have the right to work in the United States, unfortunately for now, nationwide, that's going to be on hold until the court rules finally on the merits of the case, which in litigation could take months or even years, and President Obama will be gone.
And that was one of the things that Texas and several other states said in terms of allowing illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses, and that would open up other benefits, and that would cost the states a good bit of money and do, quote, harm to those states.
That's correct. In order to sue the federal government or the Obama administration with respect to immigration, the states need to have some sort of harm, as you put it. And the harm the states were arguing would be inflicted are costs incurred by new lawful residents that could both partake of state benefits as well as get driver's licenses issued by all the states.
And one of the things we heard from the president just this morning, he held a news conference, he talked about how this, in his eyes, highlights the shorthanded status of the Supreme Court, the fact that we really didn't get a decision from the Supreme Court on this.
That's true. Shorthanded, the court is less likely to issue sweeping opinions that apply nationwide, but I will say because of the breakdown of the opinions, most commentators are saying it wouldn't have made much of a decision in the affirmative action case because Justice Scalia most likely would have voted against it. It would have been 4-4, and the Fifth Circuit's ruling upholding the plan would have stayed in effect. And with respect to the Obama administration, they may have caught a break with Justice Scalia's death because he probably would have joined a majority in issuing some more sweeping ruling that basically ruled that President Obama had taken unlawful action outside his powers.
And before we talk about affirmative action, I want to ask you, how do you think this will affect Obama's legacy?
Well, I think his legacy is defined by many attempts, both congressionally and as executive or chief executive of the country, to do something about immigration. The fact that one of the steps he took was blocked for now just will leave it to the next president or the next Congress. And so a new executive could take further action on immigration because the Supreme Court did not rule that President Obama couldn't take it because they were divided 4-4.
And that, of course, is what critics have said, that the president abused his power in using that executive action so many years ago. All right, so on to the UT ruling. Did this surprise affirmative action advocates?
I don't know if it surprised affirmative action advocates. Justice Kennedy wrote a very narrow majority, 4-3, because there are only 7 justices on this court, believe it or not. Justice Kagan was recused because this case is so old. But it really, I think, surprised opponents of affirmative action. Justice Kennedy has not been in the majority on a case approving an affirmative action program, I don't think, since he's been on the court. So, in essence, Justice Kennedy is basically giving the nod to the University of Texas and saying, listen, use race only if absolutely necessary and very narrowly, but he's he's going to defer to the University of Texas on how it needs to create a diverse educational environment.
And how might this affect the average Texas family sending kids to college?
Well, because of our top 10% rule here, University of Texas doesn't have a lot of slots. They're very narrow, and what this does is give the University of Texas a little more leeway in addressing lots of various factors, including educational background, geographical background, and race can play a part of that in order to keep the whole student body and classrooms diverse.
All right, Byron Henry, a great conversation. Thank you so very much for your insight and expertise in this. Constitutional lawyer, great insight.
My pleasure.